Andersen. I have a book that supposedly has all of his stories in here. So, I'm just gonna go through the book, in order. The first one is the tallow candle from the 1820s. There was sputtering and sizzling as the flames played under the pan. This was the tallow candle's cradle, and out of the warm cradle slid the candle, perfectly shaped, all of a piece, shiny, white, and slender. It was formed in a way that made everyone who laid eyes on it believe that it must promise a bright and glorious future. Indeed, it was destined to keep that promise and fulfill their expectations. The sheep, a pretty little sheep, was the candle's mother, and the melting pot was its father. From its mother, it had inherited its dazzling white body and an intuitive understanding of life, but from its father it had acquired the desire for the blazing fire that would eventually reach its very core and shine the light for it in life. This is how it had been made, and how it cast itself, with the best and brightest of hopes, into life. Here it met an amazing number of fellow creatures, with whom it had dealings, since it desired to get to know life and thus perhaps find the most suitable niche for itself. But the candle saw the world into benevolent light, while the world only cared about itself and not the tallow candle at all. The world was unable to understand the true nature of the candle, so it tried to use it to its own advantage and handle the candle improperly. Black fingers made bigger and bigger spots on the white color of innocence, which little by little totally disappeared to be covered with the filth of an outside world that had been far too harsh and come much closer than the candle could bear, since it had been unable to distinguish between the pure and the impure, but deep inside it was still innocent and unspoiled. That is when the false friends realized they could not reach its innermost part. In anger, they threw away the candle, considering it a useless thing. My God, this comes out kind of sexual. This is really weird. Anyway, the outer black layer kept away everybody good. They were afraid of becoming contaminated by the black color, of getting spots on themselves, so they kept at a distance. Now the poor tallow candle was lonely, abandoned, and at its wit's end. It felt cast off by what was good and discovered that it had been nothing but a blind tool used to advance what was bad. It felt so terribly sad because it had lived its life without purpose. Perhaps it had even tarnished some good things by its presence. It could not grasp why into what end it had been created. Why it was put on this earth where it might destroy itself and even others. My God. More and more, increasingly deeply, it pondered the situation, but the more it thought, the greater its despondency. Since it could not find anything good at all, no real meaning for itself, or see the purpose it had been given at birth, it was as if the black layer had already thrown a veil over its eyes. That was when it met a small flame, a tinderbox. The tinderbox knew the light better than the tallow candle knew itself, for the tinderbox saw everything so clearly, right through the outer layer, and inside it found so much good. Therefore it went closer, and bright hopes emerged in the candle. It lit up, and its heart melted. The flame shone brightly, like a wedding torch of joy. Everything became bright and clear, and it showed the way for those in its company, its true friends, and helped by the light. They could now successfully seek truth. The body, too, was strong enough to nurture and support the burning flame. Like the beginnings of new life, one round and plump drop after the other rolled down the candle, covering the filth of the past. This was not only the bodily, but also the spiritual gain of the marriage. The tallow candle had found its true place in life, and proved that a true light shone for a long time, spreading joy for itself and its fellow creatures. Okay. That was interesting. Let's see, let's read the Tinderbox from 1835. There came a soldier marching down the high road, 1-2, 1-2. He had his knapsack on his back and his sword at his side as he came home from the wars. On the road he met a witch, an ugly old witch, a witch whose lower lip dangled right down to her chest. "Go to your next soldier," she said. "What a fine sword you've got there, and what a big knapsack. Aren't you every inch a soldier? And now you shall have money as much as you please." "That's very kind, you old witch," said the soldier. "See that big tree?" The witch pointed to one nearby them. "It's hollow to the roots. Climb to the top of the trunk and you'll find a hole through which you can get yourself down, deep under the tree. I'll tie a rope around your middle so that when you call me, I can pull you up again." "What would I do deep down under the tree?" the soldier wanted to know. "Fetch money," the witch said. "Listen, when you touch the bottom, you'll find yourself in a great hall. It is very bright there because more than 100 lamps are burning. By their light you will see 3 doors. Each door has a key in it, so you can open them all. If you walk into the first room, you'll see a large chest in the middle of the floor. On it sits a dog, and his eyes are as big as saucers, but don't worry about that. I'll give you a blue checked apron to spread out on the floor. Snatch up that dog and set him on my apron. Then you can open the chest and take out as many pieces of money as you please. They are all copper. But if silver suits you better, then you go into the next room. There sits a dog, and his eyes are as big as mill wheels. But don't you care about that. Set the dog on my apron while you line your pockets with silver. Maybe you'd rather have gold. You can, you know. You can have all the gold you can carry if you go into the third room. The only hitch is that there on the money chest sits a dog, and each of his eyes is as big as the round tower of Copenhagen. That's the sort of dog he is. But never you mind how fierce he looks. Just set him on my apron, and he'll do you no harm as you help yourself from the chest to all the gold you want." "That suits me," says the soldier. "But what do you get out of all this, you old witch? I suppose you want your share." "No, indeed," said the witch. "I don't want a penny of it. All I ask for you is for you to fetch me an old tinderbox that my grandmother forgot the last time she was down there." "Good," said the soldier. "Tie the rope around me." "Here it is," said the witch, "and here's my blue checked apron." The soldier climbed up to the hole in the tree and let himself slide through it, feet foremost, down into the great hall where the hundreds of lamps were burning, just as the witch had said. Now he threw open the first door and came to, there sat a dog glaring at him with eyes as big as saucers. "You're a nice fellow," the soldier said as he shifted him into the witch's apron and took all the coppers that his pockets could hold. He shut up the chest, set the dog back on it, and made for the second room. Alas and alack, there sat the dog with eyes as big as mill wheels. "Don't you look at me like that," the soldier set him on the witch's apron. "You're apt to strain your eyesight." When he saw that the chest brimful of silver, he threw away all his coppers and filled both his pockets and knapsack with silver alone. Then he went into the third room. Oh, what a horrible sight to see. The dog in there really did have eyes as big as the round tower, and when he rolled them, they spun like wheels. "Good evening," the soldier said, and saluted, for such a dog he had never seen before. But on second glance, he thought to himself, "This won't do," so he lifted the dog down to the floor and threw open the chest. What a sight! Here was gold and to spare. He could buy all of Copenhagen with it. He could buy all the cake woman's sugar pigs and all the tin soldiers, whips, and rocking horses there are in the world. Yes, there was really money. Or there was really money. Oh. In short order, the soldier got rid of all the silver coins and stuffed in his pockets and knapsack to put the gold in their place. Yes, sir, he crammed all his pockets, his knapsack, his cap, and his boots so full that he could scarcely walk. Now he was made of money. Whatever. Putting the dog back on the chest, he banged out the door and called up through the hollow tree. "Pull me up now, you old witch. Have you got the tinderbox?" asked the witch. "Confound the tinderbox," the soldier shouted. "I clean forgot it." When he fetched it, the witch hauled him up. There he stood on the high road again with his pockets, boots, knapsack, and cap full of gold. "What do you want with the tinderbox?" he asked the old witch. "None of your business," she told him. "You've had your money, so hand over the tinderbox." "No, nonsense," said the soldier. "I'll take out my sword and I'll cut your head off if you don't tell me at once what you want with it." "I won't." screamed at him. So he cut her head off. There she lay, but he tied all his money in her apron, slung it over his shoulder, stuck the tinderbox in his pocket, and struck out for town. It was a splendid town. He took the best rooms at the best inn and ordered all the good things he liked to eat, for he was a rich man now because he had so much money. The servant who cleaned his boots may have thought them remarkably well worn for a man of such means, but that was before he went shopping. Next morning he bought boots worthy of him and the best clothes. Now that he had turned out to be such a fashionable gentleman, people told him all about the splendors of their town, all about their king, and what a pretty princess he had for a daughter. "Where can I see her?" the soldier inquired. "You can't see her at all," everyone said. "She lives in a great copper castle inside all sorts of walls and towers. Only the king can come in or go out of it, for it's been foretold that the princess will marry a common soldier. The king would much rather she didn't. I'd like to see her just the same," the soldier thought, but there was no way to manage it. Now he lived a merry life. He went to the theater, he drove about in the king's garden, and gave away money to poor people. This was to his credit, for he remembered from the old days what it feels like to go without a penny in your pocket. Now that he was wealthy and well-dressed, he had all too many who called him their friend and a genuine gentleman. That pleased him. But he spent money every day without making any, and wound up with only 2 coppers to his name. He had to quit his fine corners, to live in a garret, clean his own boots, and mend them himself with a darning needle. None of his friends came to see him because there were too many stairs to climb. One evening, when he sat in the dark without even enough money to buy a candle, he suddenly remembered there was a candle end in the tinderbox that he had picked up when the witch sent him down the holly tree. He got out the tinderbox, and the moment he struck sparks of flint from it, his door burst open, and there stood a dog from down under the tree. It was the one with eyes as big as saucers. "What," said the dog, "is my lord's command?" "What's this?" said the soldier. "If I got some sort of tinderbox that will get me whatever I want, go get me some money." "You are the dog, Zip." The dog was gone. Zip, he was back again with a bag full of copper in his mouth. Now the soldier knew what a remarkable tinderbox he had. Strike it once, and the dog from the chest. There was a dog from the chest of copper coins. Strike it twice, and here came the dog who had the silver. 3 times, and the dog who guarded the gold. Back went the soldier to his comfortable quarters. Out strode the soldier in fashionable clothes. Immediately his friends knew him again because they liked him so much. Then the thought occurred to him, "Isn't it odd that no one ever gets to see the princess? They say she's very pretty, but what's the good of it as long as she stays locked up in that large copper castle with so many towers? Why can't I see her? Where's my tinderbox?" He struck a light, and Zip came the dog with eyes as big as saucers. "It certainly is late," said the soldier, "practically midnight, but I do want a glimpse of the princess, if only for a moment." Out the door went the dog, and before the soldier could believe it, here came the princess. Here came the dog with the princess on his back. She was sound asleep and so pretty that everyone could see she was a princess. The soldier couldn't keep from kissing her because he was every inch a soldier. Then the dog took the princess home. Next morning, when the king and queen were drinking their tea, the princess told them about a strange dream she had had, all about a dog and a soldier. She'd ridden on the dog's back, and the soldier had kissed her. "Now that was a fine story," said the queen. The next night, one of the old ladies of the court was under orders to sit by the princess's bed and see whether this was a dream or something else altogether. The soldier was longing to see the pretty princess again, so the dog came by night to take her up and away as fast as he could run, but the old lady pulled on her storm boots and ran right after them. When she saw them disappear into a large house, she thought, "Now I know where it is," and drew a big cross on the door with a piece of chalk. Then she went home to bed, and before long the dog brought the princess home too. But when the dog saw that the cross marked on the soldier's front door, he got himself a piece of chalk and cross-marked every door in town. This was a clever thing to do, because now the old lady couldn't tell the right door from all the wrong doors he had marked. Smart dog. Early in the morning, along came the king and queen, the old lady, and all the officers to see where the princess had been. "Here it is," said the king when he saw the first cross mark. "No, my dear, there it is," said the queen, who was looking at the next door. Here's one, there's one, and yonder's another one, said they all. Wherever they looked, they saw truck marks, so they gave up searching. The queen, though, was an uncommonly clever woman who could do more than riding a coach. She took her big gold scissors, cut out a piece of silk, and made a neat little bag. She filled it with fine buckwheat flour and tied it onto the princess's back. Then she pricked a little hole in it so that the flour would sift out along the way wherever the princess might go. Along came the dog again in the night. Took the princess on his back and ran with her to the soldier, who loved her so much that he would have been glad to be a prince just so he could make her his wife. The dog didn't notice how the flour made a trail from the castle right up to the soldier's window, where he ran up the wall with the princess. Ran up the wall. So in the morning it was all too plain to the king and queen just where their daughter had been. They took the soldier and they put him in prison. There he sat. It was dark and it was dismal, and they told him tomorrow was the day for you to hang. That didn't cheer him up any, and as for his tinderbox, he left it behind at the inn. In the morning he could see through his narrow little window, how the people all hurried out of town to see him hanged. He heard the drums beat, and he saw the soldiers march. In the crowd of running people, he saw a shoemaker's boy in a leather apron and slippers. The boy galloped so fast that off flew one slipper, which hit the wall right where the soldier pressed his face to the iron bars. Hey there, you shoemaker's boy, there's no hurry, the soldier shouted. Nothing can happen till I get there, but if you run to where I live and bring me my tinderbox, I'll give you 4 coppers. Put your best foot foremost. The shoemaker's boy used 4 coppers, so he rushed the tinderbox to the soldier, and, well, now we shall hear what happened. Outside the town, a high gallows had been built around its soldiers, and many 100,000 people. The king and queen sat on a splendid throne opposite the judge and the whole council. The soldier already stood upon the ladder, but just as they were about to put the rope around his neck, he said the custom was to grant a poor criminal one last small favor. He wanted to smoke a pipe of tobacco, the last he'd be smoking in this world. The king couldn't refuse him, so the soldier struck from his tinderbox once, twice, and a third time. But there stood all the dogs, one with eyes as big as saucers, one with eyes as big as mill wheels, and the one with eyes as big as the round tower of Copenhagen. Help me, save me from hanging, said the soldier. Those dogs took the judges and all the council, some by the leg and some by the nose, tossed them so high that they came down broken to bits. Don't, cried the king, but the biggest dog took him and the queen too and tossed them up after the others. Then the soldiers trembled, and the people shouted, Soldier, be our king and marry the pretty princess. So they put the soldier in the king's carriage. All 3 of his dogs danced in front of it and shouted, Hurrah! The boys whistled through their fingers, and the soldiers saluted. The princess came out of the copper castle to be queen, and that suited her exactly. The wedding lasted all of a week, and the 3